Good morning. It's Sunday, the 28th of June 2020, and we are looking forward to getting back to church, to be able to meet and greet and fellowship with one another. And it will be a new normal. There's certain things that we can't do, certain things we can do, but that will be how we move forward. But this morning, I want to look at relationships. And the first little verse I've got to read is from 1 Kings chapter 7, verse 10. It's talking about the building of the temple. The foundations were laid with large stones of good quality, some 15 foot long, some 12 foot. Very big, very big stones. And what does that got to do with relationships? Isaiah 28, verse 16. Behold, I lay in Zion a stone for a foundation, a tried stone, a sure foundation. What has that got to do with relations? Well, last week was Father's Day, and we looked at fathers and our relationships with them and then with us, and how as fathers we relate with our children and our fathers, and how some are good and some are bad. Some memories are good, some memories are bad. For different people, different things. But one of the most important things we looked at was in a relationship we need time. And time is important. You could spell, I tried to do it last week, and spell time as time spent. And I instills discipline. The M for money, to supply our needs. Emotion, to love. And an S on the end, times, shows the way to God. You might like it, you might not, but with a relationship, any relationship needs a sure foundation. And Judith found this little bit, and I want to read it to you. If I can find it now. Here it is. It's a good little thought. Many of our majestic cathedrals are in need of expensive repair. Often the cause for this lies with traffic passing close to the building. Not only do the exhaust fumes cause damage to the stonework, but the vibrations from the vehicles affect the very foundations. These move and create serious defects, even up to the roofline. In this case, an external force, the vehicle traffic, has created internal problems. Before any remedial work can be carried out, an inspection and rectification of the foundations are called for. So it is with relationships. Often external forces act upon our relationships, causing damage and lasting harm. Like the cathedral, we need to look at the foundations of our relationships before attempting any rebuilding work. And when Jesus told the story of the two men that built their houses, one on the sand and one on the rock, it was the one that was built on the rock that survived. And so it is with our relationships. And as we think about that, the fact of the churches and cathedrals needing work, You think of the height of them. Now, if a section of the foundation that's 15 foot long was to move 1 millimeter, that's a tiny amount. How much would it be right at the top? Well, if it was 10 foot and it was 1 millimeter, 10 foot up would be 1 millimeter. 20 foot up, it'd be 2 millimeters. If it was 100 foot up, quite a lot. So the foundations are very important. One of the jobs I'm doing at church at the moment is I'm digging a hole. I'm digging a hole. I've got 2 holes to dig, which dig down to the foundations of church. Because we need to expose foundations in a couple of places so that the building inspector can have a look at the church's foundations and check that they are good enough so that we know what foundations to put in for the extension outside. So I dig a hole to find the foundations to see what the church is built on. Now, when we talk about relationships with one another, what are those relationships built on? How did they start? And various things like that. We need to consider these because we can have good relations and we can have bad relationships. Now, quite often when kids get into trouble, you'll hear their parents say, "Oh, they got in with a bad crowd. The friends led them astray." We quite often hear of parents talk of their children that have not been successful. "Oh, they were led astray by such and such." You could say that that was perhaps a bad relationship. As many people experience bad relationships, we know that through this COVID crisis, there has been a larger or an increase in domestic violence, bad relationships, problems along the way. But also, like these cathedrals and churches, external things can affect our relationships. The pandemic is still an external force that is having a negative effect on many people's relationships. It is sending vibrations through our lives. It is sending extra stresses to many people. Stresses that people struggle to cope with. Somebody riding past a church, a cathedral, on a push bike may seem insignificant. A large lorry trundling by we may think of as having a more major effect. But I can remember when I visited London once, when my auntie lived there. I visited London, stayed with auntie for a week with my mum, and we went across a particular bridge, and it had got a big notice up which said, "Break rank." And I said to my mum, "What does that mean?" I didn't have a clue what it meant. And she said, "Well, when the soldiers are marching, they all march together. Stomp, 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 stomp. And when they get to the bridge, they have to break rank and just walk normally." I said, "Well, why?" Well, she said, "When you've got 100, 200 men stomping all together at the same time, it would make the bridge bounce." I said, "But the bridge is massive." She said, "Yes. But the combined effect of all those men stomping at exactly the same time would make the bridge bounce, it would make it break, or it would damage it. One man multiplied lots of times break a bridge, a big, massive bridge. We have, at the moment, difficulties in our relationships due to the restrictions because of COVID. Many people are struggling. Many people have been stuck in their homes, not daring to go out. They daren't go out because they might catch the virus. They daren't go out because they think they might get arrested and prosecuted for going somewhere or doing something that they're not meant to be doing. And many people are terrified. Many people have got lots of extra stresses that they didn't have before. And this is having a negative effect on their relationships. We've been told that divorces are going up. We've been told that mental health problems. More people are trying to commit suicide. More people are suffering. But why is that? Why is that? It's because of weak foundations. What is the life based upon? What is the relationships based upon? This is all sounding very negative, but we also know that many people have blossomed in this period. Many people have developed their relationships with one another to be more meaningful. Relationships that might have been struggling have all of a sudden got time. When they have got time to spend with one another, to get to know each other once again, they've been able to spend time. Valuable time that they didn't have beforehand. Perhaps they're now furloughed together and they were able to rebuild their lives, rebuild that relationship that has struggled. In the fire brigade, one of the things that we are taught is when you come to a fire compartment, a room that's on fire, there's three things you can do. You can stay in the doorway and attack the fire from there. You can proceed into the room, protecting your route, to making sure that you've still got a safe way out. So that you can go into the compartment and attack the fire and put it out. And there's a third way. You can withdraw. You can say, there's no way I'm going in there. The ceiling's about to cave in. The ceiling caves in, there's all the furniture upstairs that's going to land on top of me. It's not safe to go in. And you could say it's kind of like that with relationships. Some relationships are good. Some relationships are bad. Some relationships don't want to go anywhere near them. But where do we get back to the reading? The foundations were laid with large stones of good quality. Some 15 foot, some 12 foot. Massive stones. foundation stones. If our relationships are built on a firm foundation, they will last. A foundation of love. A relationship that is built on time together. I remember when Judith and I first started going out, we wanted to spend as much time together as possible. We wanted to spend time together to get to know each other. We didn't want to do it just to get to know each other. We wanted to spend time together to be together. That was important to us. We wanted to spend time together. We wanted to talk to each other. We wanted to learn about each other, to find out what we liked, what we didn't like, what we were like, the kind of things that interested us, the kind of things that we didn't like, the kind of people we were, and the kind of people we liked and didn't like, because we were in love. I know it's a long while ago, but I'd like to think that we still are. But a relationship that's built on love will last. But the most important relationship of all is not the relationship that we have with our family, although that is important. Some of our family, I can guarantee, will let us down. Some of our relationships with our friends will let us down because we are human. Sometimes our friendships with our friends we need to lovingly move on from. I had a friend when we were in Suffolk that I've been friends with quite a few years, and I shan't go into it, but we disagreed on something, so we carried on our separate ways. It was a bit sad, really, because we've been friends for quite a while. I had a disagreement once with my uncle, and I was rather disgruntled about it for quite a while. But then I found out sometime later that he'd been unwell, and I felt a bit guilty then that I'd felt disgruntled about it. But sometimes we need to lovingly move on. Sometimes friendships just drift apart. Having moved up to Lincolnshire, many of our friendships that we had down in Suffolk have drifted apart. We still occasionally will talk on Facebook or whatever, but the regular contact, the regular getting together has stopped. We've moved on. We've moved on with our lives. We've developed our own relationships with other people. We've had friends in Lincolnshire that have moved away. I think of Jane and Troy, they moved to New Zealand. We used to quite often go over there and have a chat and have a Bible study. We can't do that anymore. Judith quite often catches up with them on Facebook once in a while, and sometimes there's a chat over Facebook, but it's not the same. Relationships change. Even with those that live close by. We've had people at Tots that we've been able to build up quite strong relationships with. But as the children grow and leave Tots, or they might come to youth club, and they drift away, doesn't mean that we've done anything wrong, but things change. Relationships also need to be equal. You can't have a relationship that is all take. Brings to mind of a particular thing that some girls have written on t-shirts: gold digger. The expression comes from those that become friends or want to be in a relationship with somebody that is rich, that's got lots of money, lots of gold. And the idea is that you become friends with someone with lots of money so that they will spend it on you, and you'll be friends with someone who's rich and you can boast about it. Such and such is my friend. They've got loads of money. But it's not a true friendship. We only need to look at the story of the prodigal son when he was in that foreign country and had lots of friends while he had money. But as soon as his money had gone, he got no more friends. A friend, when I'm in need, is a friend indeed. If our relationships are built on love and mutual respect and mutual love, I am not the most important one. That is where we should be coming from in our friendships. We should want to be developing our friendships in love. The most important friendship, the most important relationship we can ever have is a relationship with Jesus. Our friends on earth will let us down. Our families on earth will let us down. But Jesus will never let us down. He is that firm foundation stone on which anything that's built will not be destroyed. He came, he demonstrated his love for us through dying on that cross. He stretched out his hands on that cross to show us how much he loved us. He gave his life for us so that no matter what we do, we are forgiven. So many relationships on earth end because somebody is offended, because something that someone's done wrong. So often we can say that we forgive people, but we bear a grudge. I know I do it. People have offended me. And although I say I forgive you, or I forgive them, sometimes you don't get a chance to say it. But sometimes you can forgive them. But you're not going to get hurt again. You're not going to let them do it again. Is that true forgiveness? My prayer this morning is that as we move out of this COVID crisis, as we move to new things, as we move forward, I pray that our relationships with one another can be built upon, but built upon using the firm foundation that Jesus laid, the foundation of love, forgiveness, that we can move on and learn to love with the love that He showed to us. May that love work through us to demonstrate to all who hear, all who see how we live, will know that we love because Christ first loved us.